Navajo. Oh, maybe Winona's joining now. So Ira's Navajo. He lives down around the Cubera, New Mexico area, and his family are pretty much world famous churro sheep herders. And I have a little clip of this documentary that's being filmed with Gary Farmer that I kind of was able to be a part of as well. And Gary's first episode of this documentary that's being filmed is called Hemp, and he visited Ira's family. So it's a 3 minute long trailer. So I'm going to show you that. And then hopefully in the meantime, maybe Winona will be able to hop on. They're working on the internet around here. So some spots have, you know, we're just going to roll with it. And let me show you this and then you can meet Ira. But I want you guys to see this because it's really important to understand, like especially for Navajo farmers, the Navajo Nation, they recriminalized hemp. So just to give you some background on that, and I'll show you that now.
It's quite the facilities you've inherited. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, right there is our sacred mountain of the south for the Navajo, the Turquoise Mountain. In 2020, we're growing on the other side, living our life with our animals, raising our kids, and all of a sudden the Navajo Nation criminalized hemp. Said if we grew any more hemp, if we had any more hemp products, we would have our homes, our property, and the land seized from us. Our own government, the own Navajo Nation government. So we picked up our operation and came to this side, on the other side of the mountain. And this area right here, this goes back to the original trading posts from the area. And my grandmother used to come here and trade her wool. And this place in Navajo is called Tequistol, but it's called Cabero, New Mexico. These ruins are from the original trading post. Where we're standing is where my story with weaving and wool and everything begins. Localizing everything all around hemp. I think that's the key. If we can keep everything within a 100-mile radius, the planter, the gardener, the processor, the retail, that little ecosystem, hemp and cannabis are like the side product. But what it does is it gets you into bees, gets you into the water, gets you onto the land.
Indigenous peoples, we have to look at the future, and the future, from what I've been told, is not going to be in oil. And there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to happen. And our people have always adapted. We've always changed. We've always been a people to work through new circumstances to survive. How do we create new economies, that are based on the respect of Mother Earth? Indigenous peoples, we can lead in that conversation in really unique ways through our jurisdiction and through our sovereignty, especially for Navajo Nation, right? As we've been so dependent on extractive industries that have had such irreparable harm on our people and lands, it's critical that we find other ways of sustaining our people.
Pretty cool, huh? So that documentary series is they're hoping for a 13-part series, and they're um I think that it'll end up on Netflix. They might have already had a meeting with Netflix, so and it's kind of like a sneak preview. There's not very many people in the world that have really gotten to see it. That's the promotional trailer. Right now they're doing like a lot of fundraising um in like the film and documentary industry, and putting together a team. Like nobody's getting paid. Everyone's just, pouring their whole heart into it. And Gary Farmer, he lives down by Santa Fe, New Mexico. He's just an amazing person that has a ton of knowledge about hemp and, what all the struggles of indigenous people and farming and, the pollution from the extractive industries, mining and, all that kind of stuff. So in he plays a comedian, he's a comedian on the Reservation Dog series, as you know, he plays Uncle Brownie. But when you sit down and talk to him, like the amount of knowledge he has too is, he's like an encyclopedia on, a lot of things, especially around hemp and how good it is for the world and the environment. And so it's really cool. The first time I saw that, because I know Ira and I've been friends with him for like 3 years, and we just hit it off. I have a little brother named Ira, and first time me and Ira met, gave each other a big hug, and we had talked a lot before, all about hemp, and we all met at a meeting. And he's just really just so feel so privileged to be able to know these, really amazing indigenous farmers and knowledge keepers. And I'm just feel really blessed to know both of them. So without further ado, here's Ira. You guys will really like him. He's cool. And then you can feel free to ask him any questions, um, anything that you want. You ready, Ira?
Yeah, I think so. I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Wonderful. Yate, yeah, thank you guys for joining us. I see there's 26 participants, and that's really exciting and encouraging, and happy to share my knowledge here. I'm not so sure how much of the interaction we can have over um, the internet, but I'll try my best. My name is Ira Vandever. I'm from the Navajo Nation here in Northwest New Mexico. I'm located on the southeastern border in a place called so it's one of our sacred mountains to the south. I've been growing hemp for a long time now, it seems. But I've been a farmer and a sheep herder for a lot longer. My grandmother, Bessie Vandever, was a weaver. She didn't speak a word of English. My grandfather was a Navajo code talker um, who fought in World War II and was able to get some land upon returning, and they created an empire based upon the sheep herding industry. So I've always been involved with entrepreneurism. I hope that this class will help to invigorate and spark the entrepreneur in all of you um, to create this new green economy, this new green revolution that Winona and I have been joining forces together with, along with Esther and all their crew up there in Minnesota for the past 4 or 5 years. Um, the main thing that I want to touch on today is based around the idea that hemp can be a small local operation within your homes. I don't want it to seem impossible that you have to have 1,000 acres or some $1 million industry or $2 million decorticating machine backing you up to get into this industry. And I think that's where we're going to start all of this, because there are people like that in the industry. There are people who can scale this plant in the food, in the clothing, in the textile. They can do that, and more power to you. Um, I just consider our operation, ideally the conscience of this movement. Um, there was a huge industrial revolution, and we saw our natural resources and our workforce and our entire industry of what we consider the industrial age take place in a very rapid amount of time. Um, there was a lot of great things that happened. There are a lot of conveniences that came with it. Quality of life has increased for a lot of people. However, I think that the pollution created, the the process in which we have products, the waste that was created, the amount of energy it took to create the society that we have today. Um, I'm still up in the air of whether it's good or bad. Progress is basically what they call it. Um, John Prine had a really good song that said, Mr. Peabody's coal train came and took their entire mountain away, in the name of progress. And I think about my area that was coal mined, uranium, oil, gas, you name it, we have the resources here. And the industry has come, they've taken everything that they could, including our health, our land, whether it, I think a lot of it was taken under eminent domain. Um, I believe it's a policy of the United States government that if there is a national emergency, such as World War II or the Cold War, what have you, that they have traditionally had the right to come in, take our lands, relocate the people that live there, and start to mine, um, and extract and take and use. And what they created with what was found on my land by my grandfathers was the atomic bomb. So we are at ground zero where the uranium extracted was taken from here to Los Alamos in New Mexico, and the atomic bomb was created to be dropped on people and civilians in a completely different part of the world. Um, so the remnants of that, after it took place, there were 500 abandoned uranium mines in my area. And there was a lot of, there is still a lot of pressure from people to clean these up, but the EPA has failed to even begin a significant amount. Through Winona, who just happened to be working in New Mexico in the 70s or 80s, on uranium and mining issues and nuclear bomb issues, I was able to discover this plant, hemp. And as a hempster, as a person who is totally bought into the idea, we started to use the hemp to be able to prevent any more spread of the abandoned uranium mines into the water tables, cleaning up some of the area around where we live and where our gardens used to be and where our animals graze. So hemp has allowed us to take a proactive approach. We're still beating against the wall. We're still yelling and screaming for the EPA to clean up what they promised to clean up. But at the same time, we found this plant and are able to clean some of the metals such as cadmium out of the ground, and a lot of the contaminants have been able to be controlled to certain areas by using this hemp. As it is, hemp is a very important plant that can also take carbon out of the atmosphere. So we do have the ability to take about 4 tons of carbon per acre with the hemp out of the atmosphere, and also the metals from the bottom. So the hemp is accumulating from the bottom the toxins, it's accumulating the toxins from the top in the atmosphere. And we're playing with the genetics to find out um, the ability to accumulate these toxins as well as to neutralize them so that we are able to use a lot of what the plant has to offer afterwards. So my stressing this and talking about global issues is to say that these types of sites exist all over the United States and perhaps the world. Chernobyl comes to mind. Some places in Missouri that were contaminated. I know that there's places in Canada and probably a ton back east in the mining belts and things like that. And hemp can be used in a very practical, low cost way to phytoremediate the toxins in the ground as well as the atmosphere. And phytoremediation takes place from the earth. Plants naturally, I think sunflowers do a wonderful job, as well as cottonwood trees and things like that. When you have a contaminated site, these things are being planted and used to collect the toxins. However, hemp in its brief study right now, we hope to be able to use the mass and the matter after it accumulates the toxins from the phytoremediation process. So that's what differentiates hemp from the other plants and species that may or may need to be relocated to a nuclear waste site as well with the other contaminated materials. So that's very important to remember that hemp, in my sense, in the Navajo Nation, on the Navajo Nation, has been thought of as marijuana and do you smoke it and da 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 da, and we never ever even grew hemp for any type of medicine. It was strictly grown in a fiber type of um, process. So we're trying to get the fibers out of it. And that's the kind of hemp I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the hemp that needs to be in a greenhouse or on some hydroponic system in a warehouse underneath a plastic cover or shade or anything like that. This hemp that we grow is strictly for fiber. It's out in the middle of a desert, high mountain desert, and this high mountain desert, um, just using natural rainwater after we've got the plants going, the plants continue to grow on their own. We do have to replant them every single year, so it's important that we get what we call um, 2 cycles. So if we start here in April or May, and then harvest in late July, and then have another part going for July, and then harvest again in October, is what we're able to do down here in New Mexico. So if you have 2 cycles, that's double the amount of carbon that's being taken. It's double the amount of contaminants that are being brought up from the soil. And the reason why I brought back the Industrial Revolution and all of the ideas of the global aspect of hemp is because with hemp, we have the opportunity to create something that is a negative carbon product. And these products that we can create out of them range from oils and gases all the way to uh, the textile industry for clothes, and then the construction industry for hempcrete and things like that. Everything can be created from this single plant, plus cleaning up the air, clean, the soil as well. So what I want to do is to be the example for everyone of how to do this in a small local cottage industry. I've seen huge processing plants go up in China, huge processing plants go up in Colorado, and they're using a ton of energy. They're producing a lot of carbon. They are producing a lot of waste. They're using a ton of water. They're using pesticides to grow the plant so they can get more and more and more. And I attend larger conferences trying to slow everybody down, stating that the best thing to do is for us to create local, sustainable economies and develop these processes that do not create more problems and go along the same process that they started with genetically modified corn and soy and beans and mass like we use a no-till system, so tilling and creating the problem of not having good topsoil or natural grasses and a diverse biodiverse atmosphere that allows different other things to grow as well. So I want to be that type of conscience, and I wasn't able to do that until Winona and some of our other colleagues were able to teach us how to, in the process of creating products, how to actually do that. And I'm going to share some stuff with you guys. The idea would be that we want to create an indigenous standard. So if you have an industrial standard and you're looking at profit and loss, time versus product, and like those traditional ways of doing business, such as you know creating a product that people want and the needs, and oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have to get technical. I I guess I just say share my screen on firewall, privacy, location.
Yep, there should be a spot here to do share screen.
Yeah, I see it on the bottom, but it's not
You might
allowed.
need to
Let's see here.
allow share screen.
I think that's it. It's saying I have to do my system preferences. I guess I could do files. Let me do that. Desktop. But the idea of creating an indigenous standard is you can have just as much production on a global scale with a bunch of small 100-mile radius local economies as you can with a huge company that has 10,000 acres of this industrial huge processing facility that has decorticator, degummer, biochar facility. It would be nice if the small local economies could do someone does the textiles, someone does the oils, someone does the fuel, someone has the construction, somebody has the adobe, someone has the hemp crete, the hemp insulation, and then some people are collecting the natural dyes that are going to go into the yarns. Some people are the spinners, and some people are the carders, and some people are the weavers. The one-stop shop stuff is not only does it create monopolies, but it also takes out the innovation out of people. We don't want everybody to just work in some factory that's putting in chemicals to degum this wonderful, beautiful plant, and then someone else is releasing all the toxins into, or cleaning up all the toxins that are released into the atmosphere, into the world. Screen recording. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna upload it up to the chat, and then you guys can download presentation for later. But the idea is that in our economy right now, we take the sheep economy and we don't overgraze the sheep in certain areas. We make sure to rotate them. That's very important if you can with the hemp to rotate your crops. And as a with 2 cycles in one season, we're able to grow one stalk all the way to before it even buds, and then we'll cut it, bale it, and process it. And then when if you cut it um, a little bit from the ground, don't uproot it up. That stock will grow again in 3 months. You don't have to replant on that first cycle. You won't have to replant until the next year. And we're using about 25 pounds per acre. What's important to know is that we took some seeds before from different places: China, Ukraine, France, from Canada. And we're in the high desert in the Southwest. So it doesn't make sense to take a whole bunch of seeds and change our entire uh, uh, ecosystem and our entire farm to fit the seeds that come from China. It doesn't make sense for us to take even seeds from Ukraine and try to fit the seeds and expect them to grow in our high desert area. So it's very important to get the seeds. The agronomy has to match up from where you're at um, in your temperature, your the elevation, the soil type, etc., etc. We found here in New Mexico that we've been growing a lot better when we take a seed and then after different cycles, on the second cycle, we'll grow the plant out for the seed, and then we'll keep the seeds on the second cut. And then those seeds that are continuously doing well here, we continue to grow those. And after 4 or 5 years, we've got a nice amount of seeds that are from here in New Mexico that were grown by ourselves. And you probably can't see them here, but they're 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 from here now after 4 or 5 cycles, growing them together with the feral strain as well as some of the other strains from far away. So that's very important from the beginning. If we're going to use the indigenous standard, number one is the pillar of getting the right seed for the right place and not destroying the ecosystem within your area. So we use no-till, and what that means is we're not clearing out an entire 1 acre, 10 acre, 20 acres of the natural brush, the natural grasses, the natural sage, the other things that are already here. And what we found is we get a higher yield because of the insects and the pests and whatever. They have all of their stuff that they have to survive, and they don't need to feed on the hemp. And when we talk about biodiversity, sharing that space, we use the marigolds to keep away some of the pests as well. There are certain things that you can plant around the hemp that that will help the pests reduce the pests in that area, and it increases the biodiversity. One of the main things that we had to do, and it's like a no-brainer, was introduce bees back into our little area where we live, and bringing the bees. The bees love hemp. So with the hemp and the bee relationship, the bees have also brought back the natural flora and fauna in our area. So all of our natural dyes, the natural teas, the natural tobaccos have also increased just by introducing the bees to go right back into the ecosystem. So the number one standard of an indigenous standard is getting from your source, having natural integration of the hemp or any type of thing. You can take this indigenous standard and apply it to anything basically. And no genetically modified anything is used, and also no pesticides. So we do not use a fertilizer that is foreign or pesticides during the growing process. So that's the second part. No pesticides, no chemicals, and the no-till system is what we've been using. I really am going to try to look at some of these questions, and then we'll take a break to interact. I want it to be more interaction because I've got a monotone and I get bored of myself talking as well. So I wanted to change it up a little bit since I don't have the screen to go in there. So there are about 5 pillars on the indigenous standard. One is that we use the natural atmosphere, the natural organisms that are there to create the pesticides and the pest repellents and things like that. We also use only the rainwater. So we go a lot deeper here in the Southwest, and it's traditionally done by the Hopi, and it's called dry farming. So we put the seed a little bit further underneath the topsoil so that the roots can get a stronger hold and go a little bit deeper down, but also to where the water is, the moisture is down on the bottom, and then it covers from the dry elements on top. So instead of in half an inch or an inch like most of the people in Minnesota or Colorado do, we go a little bit further. So that's the other pillar, is minimal water to no water being used or wasted on the plants. The third one is no electricity. We try to use and do everything by hand. We make it a whole event. It's my kids are out there, my parents are out there, their grandparents are out there. Everybody's cooking, everybody's laughing, we're all singing. The animals are out there playing around, and we're doing everything by hand. And I really want to encourage all of you guys. If you're hempsters, like, 95% of us aren't going to be billionaires off of this thing. It's more of a lifestyle. And what it's done is brought us back to the land. It's brought us back to the water. It's brought us back to the seasons. It's brought us back to the moons. It's brought us back to heart, eating together, singing together, and all those old songs can be used. And a lot of people were like, you shouldn't be talking about that with marijuana and drugs like that. And hemp is not even close to any of that stuff. So we've gotten the older people to buy into it, and the taboos destroyed about it. So that was one of the things that is very important about the indigenous standard. When you're growing something, to celebrate it, to really indulge in the spiritual aspect of it. I know people that were alcoholics that are now are gardeners, and are people that are so healthy now when they were sick or borderline diabetes, because they're out there shoveling and working with the dirt. And when you do it all together, it doesn't feel like a work at all. It doesn't feel like a job at all. It feels so, that connection to the land, I think, is something that we all really, 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 really need as human beings. And we're losing our human aspect to everything, moving towards AI and robots and machinery and technology. One of the first things to go is the interaction with the sun and the moon and the stars and the earth itself. So let me stop right there.
Hey, Ira,
Questions?
hey,
Yeah,
Ira, you can email me your presentation, and then I could share my screen too afterwards.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, email it to my Anishinaabe Egg email. And then after everybody gets to visit, I suppose I could turn my video on, hiding around.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good time if anybody wants to take a 2-minute break or a 3-minute break and then get a drink of water or use the bathroom, and then I'll send it to you, and then maybe we can
Yep,
jump into it afterwards. Sound good?
sounds good.
Okay.
And then everyone can just fire away any questions too they need. Let us know.
So what other plants was Ira talking about for pest? I guess it would be based on what zone you're in. Also, that's what the grow times are based on, is what zone you're in.
Yeah. Maybe it might be in his presentation too. I'll wait for it and then I can post that up there too.
Right on.
Well, he was talking about marigolds for one, which are really useful to plant around the edges of your whole garden. Plus, they grow their own seed, so you can harvest the seed from them, and then you'll have tons more the next year. They're an annual, but you can harvest their seed.
I have a lot of marigolds around my garden, so yes. I wondered if you guys have ever thought of what's that called right here? Rosemary.
Hmm.
Definitely. Mint, lemon balm.
Rosemary is kind of more of a drier. Well, I'm here in Northeast Iowa, right? Minnesota, Wisconsin, and I think of rosemary as liking things a little bit hotter and drier than what we have in the upper Midwest. But definitely it would be good as an aromatic that would repel lots of
Animals.
right, and beasties, right, insects, whatever. Mhm.
Rosemary's
Yeah, we have
cabbage moss.
it's the rabbits and the deers up here. Oh, they really tear into everything.
Yeah.
But everybody plants marigolds up here too around their gardens to try.
Mhm.
They say that it helps keep the rabbits away, but you must need a
Why?
plant. You
Rabbits
need
are hungry.
yeah, yeah. It's like there's all they can eat salad bar. Of course, they're gonna go eat it.
Cabbage worms.
Yep.
Rosemary's repels cabbage worms.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'm gonna write that down.
And rodents don't look like mint much either.
They don't like what? Mint?
Mint.
What kind of insect does it draw?
It
Is that gonna-
repels
Oh, mint repels insects.
rodents
Rodents.
more, but
Oh, just
some
rodents.
insects. Ticks, I think. It's good for like
Some ticks.
there's probably tons of lists out there. Just
Yeah,
Google
yeah.
plants. So many.
I'm taking notes right now. What is
And
the
it
grow
depends
season?
on
I mean,
which
how long
zone
is
we're
your
in.
grow? What's that?
I say it depends on which zone we're in, you know,
Yeah.
where we're growing these things, what works and what doesn't. Mhm.
Right. How long is your grow season?
Mine, I'm up here because of climate change. We used to be in like 3, but now we're like in 4 or sometimes 5. It depends, and because we're along the Mississippi River, our climate, it's a little bit mitigated by the river. So we've always had a little bit longer growing season, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Esther, I think I got it sent to you. And I did get to look over all these wonderful questions. Yeah, the what we use down here in this climate, the marigolds, we plant a lot of lavender. Lavender helps repel some of the critters as well. I think it would be sacrilegious to say we wanted to repel any deer that would come in. I would welcome any deer into our area so we can harvest some. There isn't much out big game out this way. But I'm a big proponent of those type of wilder animals. If they wanted to take part of what we have, definitely take some and leave some for all of the animals in the area as well. One of the main things that we've been um, playing with, and we did last year, was we introduced a predator. We introduced the owls um, back into our little ecosystem. And the owls have been controlling a lot of the rodents and the prairie dogs in our area, which is kind of a cool, um, not playing predator favorite, but it has done a great job of regulating some of the ground animals that are there as well. So those are kind of some things that we use in this area on on repelling pests. But what we found also after harvesting the hemp and using it as insulation together with our wool, it's kind of a natural pest repellent on its own. The hemp does a good job of keeping pests away from a lot of the other plants as well. So they work together very well, and we always plant the corn, the beans, and the squash, the three sisters, together because they've always worked very well. And we consider the hemp as the brother, because I think a lot of people say once the male cannabis plants are not feminine anymore, they're pretty worthless. But I think that we shouldn't throw them away because a lot of the male plants from the waste we've been grinding up and turning into a type of paper, and eventually can be made with the short fibers into the hempcrete as well. The hemp processor that we use, it's the question is there a smaller scale hemp processor besides a large scale decorticator? I'm gonna be honest, I deterred when Winona, and I always spoke against getting a large decorticator that was like $500,000 to create something out of nothing. We just used a typical wood chipper, tree chipper, that allows the fibers to separate, and the fibers will come apart, and the herd and the other small pieces will separate by itself. And that one was running off, just it could be taken from one field to the next. So none of the transportation costs had to take place to bring it to some big facility. Just using a regular wood chipper is good. And then after that, once the fiber becomes the long fibers that we like, you can see I have some of the bigger ones here. And if you just let it ret in the field for a couple of days, or when it's dry, it'll come off by itself. And my sister likes to do it by hand because she's a fine weaver, and she'll take these long fibers here, and then she'll place them into a Navajo traditional carder, and she'll start carding the hemp, and it'll turn into like a big old yarn ball, and then she can spin that into a traditional hand spun weaving stuff that she was doing the wool with. And eventually we can get it to a point where we can put them into skeins, and then from the skeins we can either mix or blend. I like to blend with our churro wool. So all of the blends happen with these traditional Navajo weaving tools that have been used for thousands and thousands of years. Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather today. And then the other questions, I believe, let's see, we can get back to that chat room. And understanding what the collaboration with other tribes, I think, is so important. If we have each tribe, the Navajo, we've always been good with silversmithing and weaving and things like that, but I would love to take trips to different places and teach the different tribes how to weave, how to process by hand, so the local operations can start to thrive. We have to push back against these industrial complex of mass producing and creating all of this fiber that is filled with chemicals, and it's counterproductive with such a wonderful, wonderful plant to go in that direction. So I know from Canada all the way down to where we're at towards Mexico, there were old trade routes. And these indigenous trade routes, we were there tens of thousands of years doing this back and forth, up and down the Mississippi River, up and down the Rio Grande and through the mountains. That was just naturally happening. For them to say, in 1492 that there was nobody here and nothing was going on, I hope we all know that that wasn't true. That there was a lot of these local economies and the trade was happening. And hemp would just be one thing. I can imagine coming back from Minnesota with wild rice and maple syrup and going back up with green and red chili from New Mexico, and that would be enough. But hemp would just give us, an excuse to do that. Uh, Going back to manufacturing, and manufacturing our own things is what we want to do. We want to stop buying things from China and from wherever, and we want to do it by ourselves, and that just creates the economies, and takes a lot of the middlemen out of the way, and we become our own middlemen from seed until all the way waste. We want to control the entire process. And here we've been getting people ready with CDLs. Logistics is a huge part of it. You got a 15-ton load of hemp. The transportation is costing more than the actual load. So those are the kind of things we want to figure out. So that's another part of the standard. Esther, were you able to get that?
Nope, it didn't come through yet.
Not yet. Oh,
Did you
shoot.
send it to,
I sent it to the one that you sent me the Zoom link on. It says it went through.
oh, that would have been, let's see, what email is it?
Esther at
Shoot.
Anashinabe Agriculture.
Yeah, I wonder why it didn't come through.
Hmm.
I turned the Wi-Fi off on my cell phone though. Maybe that's why. Maybe I gotta connect because
Yeah, maybe just
I'm double checking.
okay. Can you do it again like that? Okay, so I think you guys get the picture. There's local and there's industrial processing and growing of hemp. And on a local scale, um, with our small operation, we're able to do all of our building, all of our weaving, all of our seed saving, agronomy, also anything that we want to feed to the animals. We're able to do that within our little ecosystem and do just fine. And we're not spending any extra money on concrete, building materials. We're doing all of that stuff on our own. So within a 100-mile radius, ideally, you would have people sharing equipment to harvest and plant, people processing, sharing processing, and then eventually creating these markets to where you have products that people are able to exchange or fit together to create, whatever it is that you want in that region. And for me, the housing, the clothing, the food, and then the cleanup are all the basic things of life. Like there isn't anything else we would need after that. We believe that hemp can solve the housing problem. Hemp can solve the clothing problem. Hemp can solve the food problem. And hemp can solve the global warming crisis or the sacrifice sites or the whatever they call them, sacrifice zones that we live in right now. Hemp can solve all of those things, and we're just wondering why it hasn't caught on yet. So I hope with this class you all can be a part of the solution as well. Start to take into your own mind because it's so new. You can create any kind of world or ecosystem you want out of it. I just chose to use hemp because it had so many things that were useful to what we were doing already. So from that, we were able to create and collaborate with um, fashion designers around the world, and we are now leading what people are calling slow fashion. They're attacking fast fashion because most people don't know that the number two polluter in the entire world is the fashion industry. So getting rid of the pesticides in the the fibers and going back to natural dyes, we're getting a lot of fashion designers that are picking up on that. So we're able to create yarns, and then the weavers are able to put the my daughter and my sister and my aunts and everybody are able to put it onto a loom, and then from the loom to slowly start to create patterns, to slowly create material. And if you don't know the codes to computers and all that kind of stuff, they all start right here on weaving patterns. You know, the 111s, the 121s, 12001s, etc., etc. We can break it all the way down back into a weaving picture, and a loom and a weaver. That advanced science can go all the way up to that place. So our kids, my kids, their kids, and grandkids are going to take what they learn from the earth and the looms and this industry, and are able to um, create an entire world that may involve computers or AI or medicine or solutions to this complex world we don't even know about. But to have a solid foundation in putting a seed into the ground, nurturing that seed using all of the elements that you have available to you, growing that seed, processing it, and turning it into something is is a foundation that everybody should have. And that's I think the creative process, the discipline process, the patience or patience and the discipline to create these processes that are good for more than just a small amount of people. That's the basis of the indigenous standard, using no pesticides, no genetically modified anything, minimal water, minimal electricity, and traveling a very minimal amount of distance to get that product or these processes into different places. And one of the things that my sister brought on and said was important was also our workers, increasing the quality of life for the people that are doing that work. And we don't pay anybody who helps us or does anything less than $20 an hour. Um, we take care of them, their mental health. We help accommodate them. We have a lot of mothers, fathers, single mothers. They take the work home. We're able to create a system that this job, they don't have to come to the warehouse. They don't have to come to the office. They can take the stuff home, work from home, work on their own time. As long as they follow the standards of processing and handmade stuff, they that's very important to us, that our employees and our people, actually our colleagues and our collaborators, have the best quality of life when dealing with this plant and these products, because that's a part of it. It it's very sad to see people in labs and in huge factories processing things that are so beautiful, and they never get to enjoy them, and they never get to enjoy the process of experiencing the sun and dealing with different cultures and people. So that's very, very important. And those are five of the very important pillars of what we consider the indigenous standard. And this could be applied to anything. I can see it in the future that a restaurant that follows the indigenous standard uh, sources their food locally. They have solar power. They're using, recycled paper and packaging and all this kind of stuff. And then at the same time, their employees are not working 16 to 20 hours a day. They're healthy. They're enriching themselves. They're cross training, learning new things. They've got gardens at home. They're bringing ideas, and the ideas are welcome in this process of creating the hemp. Those are very, very, very important things that we as human beings, we as family members, we as community leaders, we really need to take those things into consideration. It's not all about profit, it's people over profit every time, guys. If I can't stress anything enough in this class, people over profit every time, and nature over profit every time, and all power back to the people, all the people kind of thinking. So the way of life that I'm describing is following an indigenous standard, and I believe that's how we as indigenous people have been living for 40, 50, hundreds of thousands of years. And the people that make me mad are like, oh, you guys didn't do anything with the land, you didn't create any big buildings, and there was no forward progress, and there was no industrialization, and you just wasted it. And my idea is, or my argument is, we didn't not create things. We created things that left a very little footprint. We left things that went back into the earth. Our homes, our clothes, our food, uh, our animals. Everything went back into the earth that there was no trace of them. It was a way that was sustainable. It was ingenious at the same time, but mostly it had to do with respect for the land, respect for the earth, respect for each other. And it was also attached with this humility of not wanting to take more than what you needed, or take more than what was needed to get something done. So that's the indigenous standard. I really wanted to get that across, to you guys, and to nail it home, that we don't always have to go with progress. We don't always have to do industrial revolutions. We don't always have to make $1 million. I really feel like I have my master's in healthcare administration. I was converting hospitals and making tons and tons of money, but I was working 60 hours a week. I never saw my children. I didn't feel rich at all. Right now, our farm, our animals, the the cycles of the earth, and my kids every single day, doing what we do. I feel rich now. I feel happy. I feel like I'm doing something that means something. Now, do you need money? Yes. Unfortunately, we're in this world where we do need money, and the great thing about it is, if you really wanted to, we could take this to Paris, we could take this all over the world, replicate this model, and we could make money. We could expand this knowledge, we could push it. So there is no limit. It's not choosing a farmer life to be poor. If you don't want to, you can be very successful. You can create your own perfumes, you can create your own body lotions and soaps, and become a millionaire. You could totally do that. The markets are wide open for all of this. My brother's taking this and running. He got out of his job. He started creating children's books, and now he's going to self-publish his children's books, and he's going to use hemp paper, recycled paper, non-toxic chemicals in the colors, etc., etc. He's going to make his money and do what he wants to do, travel around, read to schools, take his kids with him. He created his own life. Now, it took him to open his mind up to that world. Hemp will probably be 2% of his entire venture, but it created this idea that we do not need to be a slave to chasing the dollar, making some other billionaire, more of a billionaire. We can create these local economies, and that's what hemp is allowing my family to do at this moment. Okay. Yes, hempcrete homes have been tested. Into last week, I believe it was, we had a huge victory. We work on policy as well, in the background of things. Hemp was now just accepted into United States building codes of OSHA and blah blah blah. Hempcrete and hemp insulation can now be used in commercial buildings. So that was a huge victory. It has been tested in northern and southern climates. We tend to use hemp adobe mix, kind of mixed with clay. Hempcrete up north would need something a lot stronger because of the moisture. And I believe that they use a polymer as well as lime to bind the hemp herd up north so that it can stand the climates up there. But we're winning victories almost daily in the hemp world. I spent a lot of last year on the Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., pushing for the Farm Bill, 2024 Farm Bill that hopefully passes, that it has a ton of hemp stuff in it, a ton of phytoremediation stuff, a ton of regulation stuff. We want to increase the amount of THC that's allowed within each hemp so that fields don't get hot and burned by the federal government. So these are the kind of things that that everybody can work on in hemp. You can be a weaver and create beautiful, beautiful um, stuff like this, handmade things that can be shown in fashion shows all over the world. Or you can create saddle blankets and horse cinches out of, the tougher side of the materials. And these can be used to take over the horse industry, horse cinches, saddle blankets, things like that. The textiles all the way down to bedding for animals, those kind of things. This stuff is so strong. And uniforms, military uniforms, nursing uniforms, cooks and chefs uniforms. This material is mold resistant, pest resistant, biodegradable, etc., etc., etc. So I think I'll take some time to take any questions anybody else might have or any clarifications. I wanted to offer, we do a lot of these skeins, so we have a lot of yarn. I wanted to offer anybody a chance, if you wanted to answer or say some things or do some kind of questions and participate, and I can send you guys some cool stuff from the Navajo Nation, and you can touch it and feel it and smell it, and like we mix ours with sheep, and it's so like this one's with a cochineal dye, this one's with a dock root dye. We've got Navajo tea dyes, and this is like a beautiful dress that we have. So these are the kind of things that we can create and beauty out of the world. So does anybody have any questions?
That was definitely my cue to speak. Sagali Sagweg. I'm up in Onondaga, which is People of the Standing Stone, part of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, up around the Great Lakes, Dish with One Spoon territory.
At least let me put my picture.
Well, I was like, whoa, what's up? What's that? And that was my other personality. No, just kidding. Whatever it was about that. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Can you?
I can.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I actually lived up in Salie, and Kienta, K-Town. And that's where I'd say a lot of where I was molded even like as because I was like just a child, like 19. And that's also where I met John Trudell, actually up in Colorado.
R.I.P.
So
Rest in peace.
and
Yeah.
Gary's like my buddy for like oh god, like 30 years at least. So if you ever say Pamela Christian, when you see Gary for reals, like because he's Mohawk from Six Nations up here and a part of my confederacy, very, very good friend. So I mean, just coming into this space is like and being here, and Esther, you too, um and of course Winona, and like so many others. It's here, it's coming. Like this is a process that's a trip I've been on for many years, many years. And because like 19 was a long time ago, to tell you the truth. And I learned how to weave, and I learned how to make some rugs and stuff way back in the day, and teachings around that and stuff that I've always held with me too, and especially like with NAC and some things that have entered my life, that, oh, I'll get emotional, that really helped to shape who I am today as a Haudenosaunee woman. So much respect for what you're doing. Um, and I'm very humble, I guess, to say, to be a part of this process, part of this building, because it's a rebuilding, not even rebuilding, it's a continuation. It's a continuation because we've never stopped building. So I love that there are, and appreciate, and I'm so grateful that there are so many people holding it down out there, holding it down. And so again, like I said, as an artist, I've always had, hemp in my work. Another thing is that we have the Tuscarora, where are the people of the shirt, which is the people of the hemp shirt, which a lot of people don't know because the hemp was, the processing and stuff. So, anyways, long story short, everything, I guess, wanted to just acknowledge, all of those, and yourself, and all of those like unsaid that just don't need the accolades, right? Because that's not what it's about. So I just think it's really cool to just to be um, again part of that process with my own nation, Oneida Nation, Chippewa, and Lenape. Actually, there's a place called like CMO, Chippewa of the Thames, Oneida of the Thames, and Muncie Delawares, which is quite the history. So, oh, actually, I guess one of my questions and comments is one of the things that I'm finding is, okay, so we talk about these companies and we talk about policies. How do you feel around, I guess, identity and identifying as an Indigenous company? And because this is such a question, especially within our confederacy, right? Like, how do we define what our so-called indigeneity is, right? I mean, like with me, of course, I can tell you all my grandmas and grandpas, and I can, I have a connection to the community and stuff. But when we're going out and like selling stuff, and people are selling things, of course, I have integrity. Of course I'm going to do that, but not everybody is, right? And not everybody has. And it's also getting, like, right now, actually, as we speak, there is a meeting happening with Benjamin Franklin's little group there called the Philosophical Society of America. Like, so right now, two young women who have very distant ties, very, very distant ties to my community, are now presenting to one of the oldest institutions of all in America about my confederacy. And I say mine because guess what? Yes, I am Haudenosaunee, and I can say that. and I need to protect it. And it doesn't need to be belittled. It doesn't need to be taken down. And we were, and still are,
They did not protect
advocates
me.
for,
They didn't
great
protect you,
advocates for,
but I did.
Hey, sister, I don't know what that one is and what that is, but let me interject. I'm not gonna interrupt you. I'll let that one do that because I'm from a matriarchal society. I'll never interrupt
Yeah.
a woman ever. But something interrupted us, and I'm gonna answer your question because we only got a short amount of time left, and then I'm gonna go to these other ones. One thing that I wanted to say about indigenous people right now, being on Capitol Hill and going to see the highest level of our government right now, we're walking into these meetings and they're welcoming us with open arms on both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats. Because one thing that both of them have that are in common right now is agriculture. And both of them want to see more happen in the United States. And we're able to go in as indigenous people into the highest offices and say, you don't have to tell us anything. You can't tell us how to grow stuff. We know how to grow things already. Just give us the money, get out of the way, get the policies out of the way, get it where it needs to go, and let us develop these small economies. And the best thing that I've been able to go in as a Navajo, as a Diné man, is to say, I don't care if this is Navajo or I don't care if this is indigenous. This product is the best, whether it's white or indigenous or Chinese or not. This is the best artwork. This is the best weaving. This is the best skeins you're going to get with natural dyes grown from the beginning, whether it's black, white, or Asian or indigenous. It don't matter. And a lot of people are starting to respect that attitude, right? They're like, these guys know how to take care of the land. They know how the traditional medicines, they know all these art crafts and these ceremonies that connect us to the earth. And they know for a fact that what's been happening up until this point had to be swept out of the rugs, had to be swept under the rug, had to be swept out of the history books. What we did, our great civilizations, our trade routes, our products are nothing short of spectacular and amazing and beautiful. And it's taken such a long time for us to get to that healing because we survived genocide. What's happening in Palestine happened to us every single year, every single day, every single month for thousands and thousands of years since the Europeans have been coming. But we're still here, you know what I mean? So this like is our chance to like thrive. And I'm not saying everybody has that power or is healed to that point yet, but I can see it in you and all the stuff you got going on in the back of you and the way you talk.
Well, no, I think what it is there's so many layers. There's layers and layers. So I think that this is probably a whole nother discussion, honestly, like really. But for sure, no, I feel you on the humanity part because for real, it's deeper. It's so much deeper than just the identity piece of who we are. Those are just the basic guidelines of how to be. Right.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, I wasn't
No.
going on a
Don't
tangent of like,
apologize. Don't
any kind of
apologize.
division.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Yeah, no kind of division because yeah, it is about literally building
Yeah. We have
and
solutions. That's what the new green revolution
building
is.
nation.
We provide solutions, you know, and we're not feeling sorry for ourselves and we're not victims. We're growing it like we always have and always will forever. And that's what I'm teaching my kids. And so let me get back to the lesson real quick. I know we took some time and I see Winona on here, so I want to give her some time at the end. I think we got 10 more minutes. Yes, I will trade for the tobacco and the maple, absolutely. And yes, I do grow my own dyes. We have our own indigo plants that we grow. We have our own Navajo teas, our own dock roots, the cochineals. You guys know we get from the cactuses, those little worms in there. So we don't really do much with that. Um, I'll give my address to Esther, and then we'll send skeins, we'll send dyes. We'll just get this whole trade route going from this first class, and the whole revolution can pop off from here too as well. So I'm going to conclude here. I'm going to give the rest of my time to Winona. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys for just listening and being a part of this. It's nothing but respect. And if you ever get down to New Mexico, you've got a place to stay, you've got someone to learn from, come down anytime. I'm here, Cabrera, New Mexico. So I'll put my information into the chat, and then you guys got it. Winona, the floor is yours, my love.
Hello, Anine, Nindawe Magadajuk. Hello, how are y'all doing out there? I apologize. We had quite a production here, and so I have just arrived, but I'm here. And I knew that I just want to tell you that so we've been growing hemp up here. I told you this last week, for 9 years, 10th years, and I want to do this weaving thing, and I was like, who knows how to weave? And I was like, oh, the Dene people. They know how to weave. Like, I'm not, I don't come from a big weaving community. We do really cool baskets and other weaving things, but so that's how, Ira and his sister, you had the opportunity to kind of experience some of the beauty of their lives and their worldview, and they're just really amazing individuals and artisans. And so, just the relationship that developed with the hemp, because it was illegal at Navajo, but we could grow, and provide the hemp to the fibers to these really incredible weavers, has developed this, this artisan level of thinking about the textile economy. We're going to talk more about the textile economy later in the class, but just the quality and the thinking and the spiritual value of the practice that Ira and his sister engage in, is really, I'm not going to say flagship. I don't think that's like a colonial term. I don't know, but a light, for us, as we restore our economy, because everything that they have down there, they have the wool, and that blend, as we look at the questions of insulation or matting, wool is really part of it. And we used to all have like a local fiber economy that a lot of us had wool, or there was a lot more wool in North America, right? And so I think the synergy of that relationship and has been really important to the development of our cooperative work for the people far up north to have partners that are from down south. And we're expanding our work, and we'll talk about that later in the class. But in the center of it is always going to be this relationship, the indigenous values, and then also the practices of teachers like Ira and Shay and their family. So that's kind of all I had to say. I see there was like a question or something maybe in there, and I don't know if there's any other specific questions. Again, I apologize. I had quite a production getting here, but I'm here. Yes.
Hey, Winona, did you ever get to see the trailer for Hempire about Ira's family?
No, but I'm going to see it. I will definitely look at it.
Okay, I'll make sure to email it to you.
Yeah, just email it to me.
Yeah, we played it at the beginning before he came on, so.
Good. Well, just send it to me. I feel like I've been cheated by not seeing all the cool videos yet. And a lot of that is just really, emergent too. So I feel like really great. I was out in South Dakota and North Dakota last week. I did class from right there, and somebody's trying to get a hold of me, obviously. But in saying that, a lot of people are interested in this. So thank you. I'm gonna have to mute myself because
If anybody wants to add anything for a little bit while she's
I
taking care
have
of that.
a comment. This discussion made me think of is microhydro. The use of our very small streams, setting in these little turbines, and
Oh, yeah.
still the remnants of these. In my area, there are many fast flowing creeks, and so there are the remnants, and these were used to process wool, right? To
Yep.
make fiber, to do lumber, to grind feed, and it doesn't hurt the creek. If you do it correctly, you're not harming the creek or the ecology of the creek. but you are harnessing the power of it. And I think that's part of bioregional intelligence, you know.
I think that just to say about that, I spent a lot of time thinking about scale. And like I'm kind of, I read all those books, a lot of you probably read like Small is Beautiful. And then I live near the Amish, I'm super interested in the relationship between scale and community, industrialization, energy, and also that, so basically, I do believe that you need a lot of small scale, medium scaled work to do this transformation. But the questions really need to be asked in all facets, I believe, of our choices that we're making now for our future economies, because size does matter, and too big is what causes big crashes. Right? And so this is an opportunity that the new green revolution is an opportunity to look at all of those issues and scale appropriately. Karen, did you have something? Yes.
Well, so horses was what Cuba used, horses. In the transition, horses is what Cuba used. Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, we do horse farming here. We have a scale, and up to about 75 or 100 acres is good with horses. I'm going to call on Karen here. She's ready to rock out something. Karen, are you raising your hand to talk? Yep. I don't know if I have to unmute you or you can unmute you. Can't you unmute you? Maybe just type it in the chat, Karen. We can't hear a darn thing you're saying if you're trying to say something. Okay, she's gonna put that in the old chat there. Any other questions while we're looking for that one?
Yeah, this is Jacqueline Davis Willett from Fargo, North Dakota. And
hello
I
there.
have a question for Ira. You mentioned integrating owls to assist you with rodent control. And so I live in the middle of a city, and they spray us constantly with pesticides to get rid of flies and mosquitoes. And so I'm just curious about how you reintegrated owls to assist, because we have rabbits and we have rodents in our neighborhoods. And so that's what I'm curious about. And another question I have is, I sat in one of Winona's meetings, and they were talking about the machinery that it takes to create the fiber. And so I've been doing some reading on it. And so I'd like some more information about those two aspects. Is how do we get the machinery? And how can I get some owls in my backyard? Thank you.
Well, there's lots of programs where we're at that, especially with the Medicine Men Society within our tribe, we can take some of the predators from a certain area and bring them to our area. So we brought some smaller owls that dig into the ground, and they actually burrow in the ground. So we were able to relocate some of those to where we were at. I don't know if those are the type of owls that live in your area, but I'm sure they're barn owls and things like that that you could get close to the city maybe, or to your neighborhood. That's what I would do. And the whole concept, and you can look it up online, is introducing predators into your ecosystem to control some of those. We did it for the prairie dogs. That was the main thing. So you can kind of look it up that way. As far as the machines go, We have a very limited machine explosion here in the United States. There's a ton of machines in China that you can look up online, but we do everything by hand. So we use the old traditional carding and spinning tools from the Navajo weavers. Those you can also look up online. You can look up the carding is carding. Spinning is spinning, and you can buy those. We also make those. So if you wanted to order from us, I can get you some. We use a hand. It's kind of looks like a little chopping thing to decorticate most of what we do. But you can use a wood chipper or a tree chipper. You can send it through there, and it'll decorticate it for you pretty quickly as well. And those you can get at any hardware store or whatever online too. So I I I can do the handmade stuff for you, or you can look it up online and buy it. And you just look up Navajo weaving tools, and you can process them that way.
So
Thank
I
you very
just,
much.
Jacqueline, just to add, you can come over to the Anishinaabe Agriculture Institute here in Ponsford and see some equipment and see us processing the
Oh.
hemp at a really basic level. Now we've tried basically a cottage level, is I guess what you would call it, a little, no, maybe cottage, like a small scale level. And we just purchased some check equipment that we think that we haven't even run yet. However, I think we have an entirely other class on more of the textile industry and how we got to the bag that we had for Patagonia that we made, that was made. And that, there's a lot of that equipment. And that's why we want to develop the cooperative, because no farmer can afford that. And no farmer is going to be able to produce enough fiber to run through a cooperative. That's why we're having this, we're interested in organizing a set of regional cooperatives. We're looking at the one right around you, the Red River Valley, the Sweet Corn Treaty one, right?
Oh, sure.
And then, I was out at Cheyenne River last week, and I think those guys should do a whole cooperative out there, because they shouldn't ship bales across the prairie. They used to have 11 hemp mills in Minnesota. So why don't we get them back? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're looking at. And then, Navajo's going to have a whole other set because they have so much potential. So I'm just saying there's a lot of equipment. But the question that we're looking at is what's the appropriate scale? Because you don't want equipment that you got to have a nuclear power plant to operate, right?
Right. Right.
You want like wind powered equipment. That's what I kind of want to see if we could run it off of renewables, right? So we have the opportunity. This economy isn't messed up. That's why we're so excited about it. What if you could make it right? Wow, how great would that be? Like equitable and green and transform the materials economy through doing it. I think that'd be a fabulous thing to do for the next 10, 15 years. I mean, that's my plan, till I hit the big old age, want to chill. Anyway, probably enough on that.
I just had to ask
I'm
those
super excited
questions
about it.
because I've been reading up on it.
Yeah. Well, you just need to come visit me. I'm just down the road, and we'll show you all our cool stuff. Bring the classes out, everything.
Okay.
Anyway, thank
right.
you. Yeah, I'm
Thank you.
yeah. I don't know if there's any more questions. What type of decorticator? Oh my gosh, we have the dangerous Chinese decorticator. We have some Czech decorticator that just came in the door. There's like the handmade decorticators of a bunch of handy guys. There's some guy down at Bass Corps in Alabama who's got a decorticator. There's all kind of decorticators out there, but like some of them don't do what you need. How you did what you need is when you get what Ira did. That's how you know you did the right thing, We'll provide you, like, we're going to grow this so that all the equipment we know about, you'll know by the end of the class. How's that? That's our plan. Because we need a bunch of people to think about it. And Tanya's going to get one of those right over there in East Lake. I feel it.
One of the main I guess partnerships we're trying to really foster is with the Navajo Technical University. And we feel that if we get a bunch of engineers and retired mechanics and people like that to really put their minds together, we feel that as Indigenous people, we can create those type of processing equipment for the future that run off of renewables and energy and things like that. So it's wide open. It's very important that we don't get locked into what they're trying to sell us now. And right now, most of the decorticators, they're like, oh, we can do 10 tons of fiber a day or an hour, and they only operate for 1 day out of the week, and the rest of the time they're sitting there doing nothing because there isn't enough stuff to be decorticated. So the main thing that needs to happen is people really start to have to grow the plant so that we have a lot of biomass to actually process in the first place.
I need a research student. Any of you guys feeling super ambitious? All right, guys, message me. Winona's Hemp at Gmail. I mean, all the stuff we're talking about, good industry profiles. The thing is we taught this class 3 years ago. So much has changed, moved along. And I think we all want to know kind of, more of an update, like Minnesota's fiber hemp production has gone down. Now they've legalized marijuana, so it's going to stay down because everybody wants to grow marijuana, right? But some countries, like France, they keep growing there. You know what I'm saying is they have enough to produce. They have enough farmers. You see what I'm saying is like, what's the scale we need and how do we get there? I think that, the people in this class are part of how we get there. Yeah, send me that, Nijoni, a Native American Ag Fund. Oh my gosh, this is what I need. Winona's Hemp at Gmail. I'll look them up too. Do I know if there's funds available for hemp? Yeah, the USDA is looking at this hemp thing. And that's, but like some of these places are getting like giant grants for hemp, and I don't even know what they're doing. Like maybe
Is it
Oregon
possible
State
to check into Biden's climate change fund that's going out?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, $15 million, $30 million grants are being given out to organizations to work on hemp. And so maybe some of them would work with farmers.
I'm interested in not really in a decorticator, but in a machine that bundles the hemp fibers together to be used in building small temples, studios, houses, but in the round, right?
Well, that's a building class. We'll see if the hemp good people can help you with that question.
Yeah, so the
Oh,
hemp
look at this.
line.
I just love this. Nijoni, you are the best for sending that. Yeah. Okay. Now, you guys, I don't know how much longer is in this class. Are we over? Or do you not care anymore?
No, I don't know.
Jacqueline, I
Is a question.
was just gonna offer to Jacqueline. I have a I'm in Fargo too. If you'd like to do a ride share or something like that out to Winona's, I can we could possibly coordinate. I sent you my contact information in chat.
That'd be great, you guys.
It looks like we still have an hour, Winona. Maybe about 45 more minutes. I can if Esther has my
Yeah, it never came through, Ira. I just never got it.
okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
What is it?
It's the Indigenous Standard
PowerPoint?
PDF that I had sent her.
If you send it to me, I could probably put it up in the share. Or Esther, you can't put, or do I have it? It seems like I might have it, Ira.
Maybe.
Or
Esther,
did you
maybe
do it
send-
more
maybe
recently?
Send it to Winona. Oh wait, you didn't get it. Never mind.
Well, and you can't, let me see what you sent. It seems like I had an Indigenous Standard PowerPoint here. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, you got it? That'd be
Well,
great.
let me look what I got.
Okay, let me see if I got Winona. Winona at Anishinaabe?
Yeah? If you
Okay.
sent it there, I was in Winona's Hemp.
Okay, I'm sending to the Anishinaabe again. Maybe I can take a little tour of my place. See if people can see. We could look at
Yeah,
some.
a tour would be cool, Ira.
Yeah, we can walk around a little bit. Can you see me still?
Yeah.
Let's see here. I can show
And
some.
learn about growing hemp.
That's
Yeah.
a different class. That's your next class. But Ira could tell you his experience.
Yeah, and you can see these walls right here. We used like a hemp plaster to redo the walls. And then down here we have the bricks, the hemp bricks shown through the wall. We did the hemp adobe. So you can see the bricks down here, the different hemp adobe structures. So if you do a pillar system when building a house or a structure, you can use the hempcrete to set up the wood pillars. And then in between them, you can stick the hemp adobe or the hempcrete or whatever you got going on. Oh, here's my little brother's children's book that was out of the hemp and the natural colors and dyes. So those are the kind of things, the products that we have growing. A bunch of swatches for the different types of hemp fibers and materials that we can do. We just basically did everything with the hemp that you could think of, from insulation to hemp adobe, hemp ovens, things like that. So like go outside, a lot of what we prepare with the soil, we put a lot of the wool in there as well, the old wool, and you can see kind of the wool inside of the oven. I don't know if you can see or not. Let's see here, kind of bright out here. Can you guys see this oven type of deal?
Well,
not really.
Someone can see it.
Can you see it? Okay. So like these
Is that
adobe
for
brick
bread or what do you cook in there?
bread, yeah. Bread. But these old adobe bricks we just mix with the hemp and the wool. So the wool binds it all together with the hemp, and these are kind of the areas where we work on the bricks. This is some of our hemps. They were talking about hemp baling and packaging. We just bale it like a normal 2-wire square bales. That's all we've been doing. Hope you guys can see some of them down here. But the soil we've been getting ready as well. And the soil we try to put the wool into the bottom so it helps retain some of the moisture. So each of the places that we stick into our soil here, we got a lot of clay. I don't know if you guys can see, but we put the wool into the soil with it, and then the wool helps retain some of the moisture out here in the middle of the desert. So I don't know if you can see that type of soil that we have here. This is after working with it and using the fertilizers and mixing it with the wool and all the biomass from the biochar that we create. You can see some of the biochar into the stuff, and the biochar is just the wastes that we burn, and then we add water at about 160 degrees and try to keep a lot of the nutrients. So between the biochar, the wool, and then some of the other nutrients that we put back into it, we're able to get a pretty good soil down here that it's not so much full of clay. But it's very important to this biomass here that we have, that is the waste that we don't use for weaving. We burn it and then put it back into the soil. Or, I mean, I use it for a fire starter stuff too. And when Nona gets mad at me, she's like, stop burning the profits. But it's kind of, if you can burn it and turn it back into a biochar, it gets to a point where you can put a lot of nutrients. But these are the most important things right here. We've got, I don't know if you can see them in the back. we've got a bunch of beehives, and the bees they love hemp. So if you have some people that are into bees in your area, I think that's a really huge key in getting all of your stuff ready for the future. You can kind of see like our area, the mountains in the back. It's really high desert, so a lot of the stuff that we do has to have very strong, deep roots. And the way we did it out here was by putting it into the a little bit further into the ground, the seed, so that it can get to the moisture. And all of our manufacturing happens in a small area of less than, you know, a really small workshop. So these localizations of these products happen mostly when you send the work home with the people. So we take these big bags like this right here. This is our, I grow cannabis as well. So these are the short stalks from the cannabis. So they don't have the long fibers, but they work very well for going into the building material. This is the one that we mix with the hemp adobe. So this is these are the bags that we'll send it home with. It's a good model. Let's say one person, like my sister, she'll take this whole bag, she'll crush it up, she'll grind it up, she'll put it through whatever she has, and then she'll start weaving with it, and then she'll come back with the product at the end. And it's not piecework per se, but it kind of follows that concept. They bring in the bags, we send them home with large bags of wool like this, and then they can go home and they can come back within a week or 2 weeks or so with the finished product. And we use this main warehouse to kind of gather people around. We do the seminars, they do the teachings over here, and people come and learn, and then they take the product home with them, and then they don't have to spend the gas to drive out here. They don't have to buy any food. Plus, they can keep their children at home and kind of keep the family together. So that's kind of a good formula, I think, for small scale, is to be able to do stuff where they take the product home with them. And most of them have trucks, so they'll come and they'll take a large amount, and then they'll show back up in 2 weeks with the finished product. That cuts down on my overhead. I don't have to pay so much to keep lights on and all that kind of stuff going that a normal office would as well. I think that's a good formula. And we don't, I think we received a couple of grants from Winona's group, Honor the Earth and stuff like that, but we try not to depend heavily on nonprofits. We try not to depend heavily on government assistance. We try to just kind of hack it out of the woods, and what we have, and what we grow, and what people produce, they produce. And I wouldn't kind of hold your breath on getting a lot of funding. I think the best thing to do is just to start. You want to start, you want to put the seed in the ground and just slowly start to make stuff happen. And that I think is a good formula on localizing things and getting it going. Our big fields are across the arroyo, so you can see that we don't till them. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a no-till system. We don't have any tilling needs. We don't have any seeding needs. We do all of that by hand. And like I told you guys before, we make it into a big old deal and bring the family together, and someone's cooking and people are singing and eating and enjoying that whole process. And I if you guys do get a chance to go to Winona's place, that's what I loved about it. It's like family oriented. It's traditionally oriented. If you have medicine men or you're spiritual, to bless your crops is huge. doing all that kind of stuff is a part of the process. So like this lady brought back a whole bunch of this one yesterday. It's like she dropped this off on the way out, but this is all decorticated. So the other thing is people make a big deal about degumming, and degumming doesn't really need to happen for all of the it only needs to happen to the part that's going to go into the weaving. And even some people are talking about, you know, about maybe 20% of the entire ton, each ton that's used can be used for that weaving and making textiles. The other 80% is basically waste. So getting into like 3D printer filament or construction stuff, plastic, bioplastics, bioenergy. Those are all very important to think about into the future. You can see these huge pillars that we have on this porch. We did it all with the rock work, and the base and the structure is all with hempcrete. So it's kind of practicing what we preach and actually do everything with that hemp adobe concept, and the stairs and everything on the bottom, and the hempcrete stands up pretty well. It's really strong. Right now it's been about a year, and it's still really been resistant to water, been resistant to the elements as well. So the hempcrete and hemp adobe, and these are just stuff that we're building around the house that we use here. There's nothing that we didn't include it on. So the hempcrete, hemp adobe, hemp insulation, all of those things are in our structures here in Cabero. So these are eventually like what Winona and her son and I have been working on is like these geothermal solar heating panels that they manufacture from scratch. So what would be nice is if all the mounts, all the screws, all the brackets, everything, the insulation and the epoxy and all that kind of stuff was made from our products, such as the hemp filter would be a good place to start. Those have to be replaced monthly. So a hemp filter we could make, hemp wool mixture, and then all these mounting stuff and all the brackets that go into this actual geothermal heating system can be printed with a 3D printer. So we're gonna try to create the filaments and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. There's actually an unlimited amount of stuff you can do with it. I just hope that go ahead, Winona.
No, you want to finish what you're hoping?
Yeah, I was just hoping that things like this class can slow it down, because I'm really afraid about those big industrial developments and using chemicals and plastics and taking shortcuts just for the almighty dollar, you know. I just wish that that we could slow it down a little bit and get everybody to kind of tribally, like, man, if every tribe could do something, that would be amazing. Like, I love how you guys talk up there, like Siston could be doing this, and Red Lake can do that, and the Lenape can do this, and that's how we need to start talking down here. Navajo could do this, Hopi can do that, the Pueblos can do that, and kind of get that going. But I think the main thing is the farmers, like you said, Winona, we've got to get the farmers going, and if we can do that, we're going to be just fine.
So I just thought I'd add in a little bit more than that. And then I think that Craig had a question. Is that right, Craig?
Yeah.
Why don't you shoot your question, and then I'll kind of go off of what Ira said a little bit more and embellish more. I apologize. I wasn't clear on the time. So yes.
That's okay. Buju, Wabshki Mahigan, Makwanandutam. My name is Craig Levand. I'm from the Treaty 3 territory, just in northwestern Ontario in Canada. And I had a question. When you're mentioning about the mining areas and it cleaning the soil, that's something that we're having a huge difficulty with the Canadian government opening basically our lands to any miner. They can just kind of go online and pick a little area and then they can stake a claim. So we're really trying to protect our traditional territories. We have 28 communities just in the Treaty 3 area, and it's just being deforested, mining, just everything. So I'm hoping that in the region or in the community that I'm in right now, that we can set up some of these hemp fields in the areas they've already deforested. So that's one of the other things was what type of bees were you bringing in, or did you just set up the traps and they or the homes and they would just naturally live there?
I brought in, first of all, yes, do that. Please do the growing as much hemp as you can anywhere that there are those sites that where resource extraction was. The bees that I used were Italian bees. That's what I first brought in. But after 2 years, I started catching the swarms that were happening around my area.
Okay.
Once I learned how to do the beekeeping, I would capture the swarms that were just happening naturally. And those are the ones you basically want around anyway. Try to avoid any of the African bees or things like that. Italian bees, and if you can catch any of the swarms in your area, do that.
Okay, because yeah, I did talk to a bee farmer in Manitoba, and that's what they warned me about, that they're very invasive and they'll kill off kind of your natural bees that are around.
Yep.
So yeah, and how quickly does that? My question was getting to my question. How quickly does the hemp requester the soil and the area?
Well, you can do, we do 2 cycles. So it's happening twice per year per grow season. And I forget the amount. I think it was like 8 cubic feet, something crazy like that was being addressed within each cycle. So you're getting down to the really deep into the soil that it's accumulating those metals. And so 8 cubic feet, I don't know if you can measure, is pretty deep into the ground.
Yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Craig, I'm going to just respond, just embellish a little bit on what he said. So we are going to have a class on bioremediation, right? Which is something that I think really needs to be looked at, because every tribe has a super fun site. Everybody's got that. And, I mean, I know that the war is going down in the ring of fire, as they call it up there, but the heavy metals bioremediation, Ira has done some work with that. I don't know if you spoke about that, Ira, with the uranium mining areas down there, but that's what you're just saying now, right? He can grow two crops a year. You and I cannot. Craig, forget it. Just do one crop, be happy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But and so it takes a few years, I think, to kind of be able to heal up the soil and pull the heavy metals out. And then one of the questions remains, what do you do with the plants that have the heavier metals in them? Now, there's like studies on, there are studies, but they like to make a mess a lot faster, it seems, and they like to clean it up. But there's work going on military bases, and we're going to do a pilot project on one of the Enbridge spill sites where they just thought they'd watch it sink for 20 years. So we're gonna work on one of those this summer. That I believe the plant can heal. And I do believe that, but at the same time, it's kind of like everything else. If you don't do your part, the plant's can't do. It's not just the plant going to save us, right? We got to do our part, and so I think that's a really important construct. So you got to give the plant every chance it can to grow, which means babying it, and adapting the right seeds, and what I'm saying is like just do your best. Don't just like say, hey, good luck, good luck, clean that mess up for me. I'll be back. It takes like more attention and mindfulness than that. And I think we're bringing in some people to talk about bioremediation from the Air Force Base area in Maliseet territory, I think. As far as you know, I mean, to me, you know, the challenge of, you know, Canadian mining companies are evil. And, you know, they're 75% of the world's mining, you know, companies or mining going on is Canadians. They do all kind of human rights violations and they're just evil corporations. And everybody thinks Canada's all full of great guys, but it isn't. It's full of all kind of really evil guys, right? Having said that, you know, I mean, you know, whatever, however we support, you know, opposition to unethical, dirty mining, that's this first campaign. You know what I'm saying? And then the second parts are like replacing the stuff that they're unobtainium that they're going after. That's what I just call it, because it's all kind of crazy metals that they come up with, a new kind, unobtainium, you know, with hemp, you know, or moving into the better set of appropriate technology for hemp batteries, for instance, is, you know, what we have to drive, and the ethics. You know, there is a lot of, you know, divestment of Canadian oil sands and more, but there's a lot of people that are interested in doing the right thing. And so a lot of our strategy is to make sure that the right thing is done and that the right people are doing the right thing. In other words, people who look like all of us, you know, not the same evil guys who ran the last economy. So a lot of our thinking is how you build an equitable, and just economy, and that's our prophecies. You know, our prophecies talked about these times, and so that's what I consider is that we're just following that path. And you know, there isn't exactly like milestones. You know, you got to just, you know, pray hard and continue on. But you know, hemp has got the potential to be so transformative. And even like one of the reasons we're looking at it, and we're gonna, you know, talking about building materials, you got one, the hempcrete we're all talking about, which, you know, every tribe needs hempcrete, from what I could see. You know, every tribe needs housing. This is housing that sequesters carbon. The other thing it does is it leaves your forest standing, which is what y'all need. We all need in our in the woodland areas. That we want it to be woodlands, not, you know, fields. But oh no, I'm talking, you know, I'm talking a little bit too much about all that, but I just want to say, you know, the things that you're talking about are really important. You know, I mean, we're all looking for some of these answers. And one more thing on bees, there's some guy that raises bees on the roof of the Delta Chelsea in Winnipeg. Do you know that?
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so I asked that guy, I mean, you know, so like a 10-story building downtown Winnipeg, some guys beekeeping up at the roof, right? That's kind of cool, right? That whole little story is like how those bees know that. You know, I mean, I just thought that was a fabulously interesting story. So I asked him what he does with his bees in the winter, and he said he has like a bee spa. And he takes his bees and they live in like a big, you know, like, you know how these people, they take old barns and now they turn them into places to store their silly trailers. Well, somebody turned it into a bee spa. So I'm just saying, you know, if you're going to work with the bees, give them a hotel for the winter, because climate change is cruel, you know, and your bees might need a little break. And, but honey and bees and hemp, bees love that pollen. So it's a good, you know, a kind of a it feeds all the relatives. It feeds all the relatives, you know?
Winona, I want to mention something before I forget. We are pushing something called the New Green Revolution, and this is what we see as indigenous led. And by pushing that, we've been welcomed to tables with the Latino Farmers and Ranchers International, the Black Farmers and Ranchers International Caucus. These people are trying to bring us to the table because they're being approached from all these different directions of industrial and big and scale and millions and da 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 da. And one of the things that they're all trying to get behind is this thing called carbon credits. And these carbon credits, as a cooperative or as a group, we can start to dictate the banks and the lending programs, the insurance programs. Those are a whole nother section of this revolution that we need to grasp as well. Although we are being looked at as the farmers and the people that have the boots on the ground, that know how to grow things and make things out of it, all of you as students should also be looking at this other world that we don't really know about, and it's the carbon credits and the banking and the loans and the insurance stuff. That whole industry can change as well, with the backing and the use of hemp, in that complex world that we're talking about. So the Latino farmers and ranchers and the Black farmers and ranchers are not as close to the earth as us. So we got to bring them back in and start to develop this idea of the indigenous standard. So that's what I wanted to think. That's what, like, we all talk about it like it's normal. Like Winona talks about it, and that's just who we are. We care about those things, but a lot of the rest of the world doesn't. And we really got to be their conscience and talk to them and say, hey, maybe we should do it this way this time, right? Kind of deal.
Hey, Ira, do you want me to share my screen? I have the
Yeah,
indigenous
can you?
standard.
And I'll just go through real quick some of the slides, and then they can see it up in person what I was talking about, because I think this concept is really important to indigenize. Yes, indigenize across all peoples. That's right. Ariel said that. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's the redesign of making products to make them easily reusable, and the redesign of processes to make them more efficient and user friendly. The 5 pillars that I was talking about earlier were creating zero waste systems. And when you have a plant that takes carbon from the air and from the ground, and you use minimal water and minimal electricity, you end up getting these negative carbon products and these negative carbon processes. And that's where the carbon credits come in. So if we as a co-op have 100,000 acres growing, we've got a lot of money in carbon credits that we can give out in small business loans, farmers loans, crop insurance, etc., etc. The amount of distance traveled talks about that 100-mile radius that we're talking about. What you see in the background are the yarns that are created with the mohair and the wool mixed with the hemp blends. Okay, next slide. We created this concept of a trading post model. So we're Turquoise Indigo fibers, but then creating a trading post model where we can also sell all of the cool products that all the other people make is what we wanted to do. So this 40-acre compound also incubates, accelerates, and helps entrepreneurs and innovators develop their ideas here on the Navajo Nation. This is my daughter. Zero waste is basically thinking about everything that goes into the entire life cycle, not keeping waste out of the landfill, but also pushing for an economy that is less wasteful. And that's what Winona was talking about, is like, we can't just, try to fix everything that's broken and then say, hey, we're going to keep breaking stuff and then fix it. It's so important to say, this is also our chance to reprogram. Let's turn off the lights while we leave the room. Let's turn off the water while we're brushing our teeth. Let's use less plastics. Let's use da 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 da. These conscious to buy clothes that are not fast fashion. That's what we have an opportunity to do right now. And putting that system of zero waste into the rest of our lives is very important. The negative carbon, what we talked about earlier, the net zero operations and products are what hemp will give any one of you guys in any one of your ventures that you decide to create. Okay, next one. This is my grandma. She's the matriarch. This is my daughter. They both learn together. It's passed on generational. Our grandparents are never thrown into nursing homes. Our parents are never thrown into places. Everybody's got something to offer. It's very important to learn from what she has, and then using my daughter's innovation and our innovation as well too. And this goes back to the minimal water, minimal electricity, distance traveled, and generational knowledge being shared. We already went over all this, but I just wanted to show you guys. They asked if we grow our own dyes. The natural plant dyes are used only. You can get amazing colors. You don't have to sacrifice aesthetics by using natural dyes. You get some really beautiful products. Okay. Um, the zero waste lifestyles, what I was talking about earlier, we've always been able to live in a good way with the earth as native peoples. It's inherent in us. I think some of the younger generations may have lost their way, but a lot of us, it's inherent to us. You know, it's like we cringe if we see somebody um, uh, polluting or littering or, you know, kicking animals and stuff like that. It's just in us. But everybody else is kind of immune to it. Um, you know, reusable waters, toothbrushes, lunch bags, traditional way of life that you guys have, using the air outside to dry your clothes, and not using natural washes, natural shampoos, and things like that are really important for the future as well. As my daughter and my son, we try to. You can see my son on the left. He's got from with when his mom dressed him. She's got like Jordans and these clothes and these Mickey Mouse stuff, and it was just nice contrast to the one on the right, which is my daughter, who was dressed with all traditional stuff that was hand sewn, all jewelry that was handmade, all that kind of stuff. The moccasins handmade. You can see the contrast that we fight every day, and you're not bad if you're buying into it, but at least be conscious of it, kind of thing. Go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, going. So this is a loom right here. This turquoise indigo fibers. These looms can be handmade, hand constructed, and done at home, and you can still create beautiful products that are worthy of wearing on the runways in Paris or in Santa Fe or wherever. This is a loom that we use. And we do demonstrations weekly. They usually go on, and we try to educate the people on what actually hemp can be used for besides the medicinal purposes. Okay, go up to the next one. This is us in Winona's place. In the background, you see this triangle type of thing. That's a hand decorticator. We built that while we were up there, and you can see how much you can process just in a short amount of time. That's my sister with the rug that we gifted Winona with the sacred mountain, and some of the designs there on the back. That was in her workshop. And this is my daughter, the little one. They grow up with the animals, treated just like their brothers and sisters. They take care of them. Eventually, they end up taking care of us. They work together, and that's the one of the main pillars that we'd like to push. And there's my daughter. It's never too early to teach them. This is at NOCO last year. She's demonstrating on a weaving thing. We've got my sister there helping her. I promise you, if you have an iPad and this kind of thing next to it, the kid will choose this every time. Just like if there's candy and a fresh bowl of fruit, the kid will choose the fresh bowl of fruit. But if the candy and the cereals are the only options, that's what they're going to take. If the iPad and the TV is the only option, that's what they're going to take. But if you give them a choice to go run around and jump in the mud outside, play in the fields over their iPad, I promise you they're going to take outside, jumping in the mud every single time. And if you just spend the time with your kids to teach them to learn how to do this stuff, she's right here in this picture. She's 4 years old and she's weaving a rug. And people think, oh, they're too young. They're da 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 da. They're not. Just show them how to do it, and the kids will surprise you. They will surprise you. Now you see, there's the phone right in front of it. You gotta, have a balance. And oh, it's your break time. You can go watch SpongeBob or whatever they watch, and but at the same time, they're gonna choose being a part of this process of creating something beautiful every time, every single time. These are some of the natural dyes that we use. My sister takes all of our nieces and nephews out on these expeditions, and they'll travel all the way up to the back of that mountain, collecting clays, different colors of clays, different herbal stuff to do on the dyes. So it's very important to get out there into nature to start to do this kind of stuff. This is one of our flyers. We take eight, kids all the way from 5 and up to 18, and we're filled every time. We're always filled. We do horse cinches. weaving demonstrations, carding and spinning stuff, and my kids are always there, right in the middle of it. And yeah, go to the next one. This one is in the Paris and New York fashion shows. It's cashmere mixed with wool. Um, you can see my kid in the back on his phone, laying down in his moccasins. So it's, you can't be a dictator and say, hey, you got to be native and let's go get our bow and arrow and our teepees and go back to the old ways. It's very hard to actually do that. But doing this and living this kind of lifestyle doesn't take anything away from us being indigenous. We're always going to be indigenous. That's who we are. It's inherent. So don't let anybody say, we'll call you a hypocrite or whatever. This is very important to say we're just dealing with what, you know, what situation we're in right now. And pretty soon those apps, the one he's reading and listening to right now, is actually a Navajo language app. So he's looking on there and using the app to learn Navajo language. My daughter looks at weaving stuff on the phone as well. So you can find a good balance and don't feel like a hypocrite if you're not going all the way back. We can take baby steps along the way. These are some of the pants we can create. We can do stylish stuff as well. Go to the next one. Angel Chang is one of our major designers. She took us up, and she's the one who took our process and integrated into her own traditional stuff. She went back to her Chinese roots and started learning the Chinese processing of hemp and how to create it. Our big thing is we mix the hemp with the wool. You can get a good felt. My son's wearing a good hemp wool felt hat right there, and then my daughter's got the honor the earth stuff and hemp denim on her as well. You can go to the next one. 3D printer and filament. We're working with Navajo Technical University. This is very important for the future. All you tech people, all you guys that want to take waste and make it into something, the mixture of the hemp and the churro wool has created a beautiful bioplastic that can be put through a 3D printer filament. This is our front yard. So we grow the corn and the hemp and everything all together. And you can kind of see where we live in the high desert area. And we just try to create a biodiverse area full of different kind of plants. And hemp is just a small piece of it right now. Next one. The catering side, these are some of the stuff that has started blooming and growing after we brought the bees back. So the tomatoes and the squashes and the lettuce, and then our fry bread, of course, and our we did lure some deer into the area, and we were able to harvest the deer there on the left. So it's just, I think, the cycle of everything. So that's where we're at with some of the food we create. And then this is no waste. So all the head, all the, you know, bones and everything is used on everything. So the indigenous standard is everywhere. Okay, next one. These are our chilies and some of our hemp stuff that started to be growing, the products that we developed after we got into the farming. So the hemp allowed us to have more time to create food and products that we would normally buy. We're doing it on our own and saving that money and creating that culture around it. Some of the tacos, some of the teas, some of the natural dyes, the lavenders, the honeys that we have from our products. That's the goat cheese that we have from our goat farms. You know, the cilantro we grow in our gardens, tomatoes as well too. So you don't go back. Your quality of life actually increases. Your taste goes up. Your taste for good food goes up. So you're not sacrificing anything by getting out of the rat race. Next one. We grow cannabis, so you know, the whole culture of cannabis. We're 420 friendly. These are the kind of things we want to bring into our gardening and our cafes and our consumption pads and all that kind of stuff. We're attacking that side as well. Some of the metals and the handles we've been working on to create knives, to do the butchering and stuff with the 3D printer filament. We're trying to do out of hemp as well. Of course, the steel we can't, but maybe the handles and things like that we can do. Um, yeah, that's about it, guys. I just wanted to give you some visuals up close. The rest are just what we use to get in our valuation and equity and stuff like that to the big money people.
We all need samples of,
Yes, yes.
especially the green stuff though. I'm just kidding.
Totally, totally.
Ira, that's cool. That's cool.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
I'm down. I'm down for that.
Well, Winona had to jump off. There's a 25-year celebration in Relax. Relax band, I think it was when they got something. Anyway. So yeah, I told her, I said it's okay. I figured Ira's PowerPoint would go to the end. So
I
does
put my
anybody have any final questions or comments and stuff for Ira?
I put my contact information into the chat. So if you don't know how to get in the chat, I think it's below, and then just go to chat and then kind of scroll up and you'll see my name, IV, and then my email, my phone, and if you guys want to exchange, and I'll send some of these yarns. This is one of the indigo colored yarns, and you guys can send some maple syrup and some tobacco down. That'd be dope. It'd be really nice.
Yeah. I have a question, Ira. I
Sure.
wondered if you buy material. I still have a barn full of last year's biomass that I haven't sold. I
Wow.
got maybe 200 pounds.
Wow, where you at?
Northern Michigan.
Yeah, totally do. I don't know.
I wonder what our price.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is maybe I can get up towards Minnesota and Michigan, and there's a guy I need to visit in Detroit who's got a big blueberry farm, and maybe I could just come by and pick it up and give you the money and instead of sending it, because the sending it kills the.
That'd be stellar.
Wouldn't that be great? Then I can bring some stuff. Maybe that'll be my first trip up on the indigenous trade routes. I can stop
Oh
in
yeah.
Kansas and
Let's get
Iowa.
it.
I went to school in Des Moines, Iowa, so I'd like to go back to Drake and visit up there in Iowa as well. Kind of like a tour to see if we can get some people to rotate crops with the hemp and use our seed rather than genetically modified seeds.
Curious, how long is your grow season down there?
We go all the way to our last harvest is in October, but we're starting late.
June?
No, about May until October.
So he's got a longer grow season.
Way longer. Yep. And in our Arizona neighbor side, they can go all year long, so they can do 3 cycles. That's kind of where I want to get started with the industrial side. I can bring some
awesome plastic.
I can bring some hemp and some chili. Yes, hemp plaster. I can bring all of that stuff. If you guys want to look up our Facebook, it's Turquoise Indigo Fibers. You can look that up too as well. You can see some of our things on there. But Vandever Trading Company is a concept I think will be good for a co-op model, getting a lot of those products up to you guys. Yeah, Prairie Band Ag. You guys were cool. I hope I see you guys again. Oh yeah, you do. You are going to NOCO. Yay, Najoni. Najoni Woody. That's a Navajo name.
I got to meet Najoni in last year. I
Nice.
met Theo and the guys, and I toured their decorticating building, and then got to see their CBD greenhouses. She grows indoor and outdoor CBD, and yeah, so
Yay.
we all get to hang out in NOCO. That's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be great. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I've also started, well, not started, but there are many native medicinals plants that grow here. All these, because the land has never been chemically farmed. It's about 80 acres. It's never been chemically farmed, and there's lots of woods and creek and different little microclimes. And so one of the things I'm really interested in is sharing medicine, right? And different people from the different bioregions, right? That we have various medicines and sharing them. And I've also started growing some of the what are called the Chinese medicinals, astragalus, immunodaptogens, and yeah, we have wild ginseng and Solomon seal and just so many medicinals here. And I feel it's really vitally important that the medicinals are fostered.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I harvest. My grandmother was an herbalist, so the dyes were secondary. The first part was the medicine, and the exchange of the medicine is very important. Very important. One thing that we grow besides the marigolds around our crops is amaranth, and amaranth is very, very important. I think in a lot of different ways. So that I would encourage a lot of people to grow that as well too. I think that's about it, guys. We made it.
Yay!
Thank you.
Made it. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for hanging in there with us.
We're updating the schedule too. We have like Cameron McIntosh, Danny DeJarle from Lower Sioux, and so the syllabus and stuff, I'll just probably send out like 2 more weeks. So yeah, the class schedule is gonna be upgraded to be more modern and what you guys are really particularly interested in. So look for that and look for my email. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Miigwech.